Once upon a time, in a village on the edge of an enchanted forest, lived a poor woodcutter named Thomas. Thomas had a wife and 2 children. The family barely had enough money to get by. So when his wife came to him one day with a plan to make some extra cash, he was all ears. "I have heard," she said, "that the Emperor of the North has announced a competition. Whoever brings him a singing canary will win a handsome prize and become the Emperor's guest for as long as he lives." "That sounds like a good idea," said Thomas. "But where are we going to find a singing canary?" His wife thought for a moment. "We don't need to look far," she said. "There is sure to be one in that big tree at the edge of our field. Now go quickly and climb it and bring me a canary." Thomas didn't like the idea of climbing such a tall tree, but he did it anyway because he loved his wife and children and wanted them to be happy. He climbed higher and higher until he reached the top of the tree and saw a small bird sitting on a branch. It was a beautiful canary, and when it sang, its song was like the sound of a flute. As soon as Thomas reached for the bird, though, it flew away, and Thomas slipped and fell out of the tree. When he looked up, he saw the bird flying in circles around the tree, singing loudly, and then it suddenly flew down onto Thomas's shoulder. The bird seemed friendly and just stared at Thomas with its beady little eyes. Thomas was stunned. Could this be the magical canary that would change his life? But what could he do now? The bird wouldn't let him touch it, and he couldn't chase it, or it would fly away again. As if it had read his mind, the bird suddenly opened its beak, as if asking Thomas to do something. And that's when Thomas got an idea. He took off his leather jerkin and carefully put it over the bird. Then he gently picked it up and tucked it under his shirt. The bird chirped softly and snuggled close to Thomas's chest. Thomas hurried home, afraid that the bird might fly away if he took too long. His wife was overjoyed when she saw it. She quickly made a small cage for the bird and gave it food and water. Then she went to the village to tell everyone about the Emperor's competition and how she was sure that they would win. But when she returned home, she found that the canary had disappeared, and in its place was a tiny wooden box. On the lid was a note that simply said, "Be careful what you wish for." At first, Thomas and his wife were confused, but then they realized that this must be some kind of magic, and they started to argue about who was to blame for what had happened. They accused each other of being selfish and stupid, and their fight only ended when they both fell asleep. In the morning, Thomas's son, Peter, came into the room and asked why they were fighting. When he heard about the magical canary, he knew that he had to do something to save his family. So he took the box to the village elder to see if he could help. When the old man saw the box, his eyes widened in surprise. "This box," he said, "is no ordinary one. If you open it, you will release a genie who will grant you 3 wishes. Be very careful, though, for genies are tricky creatures and are rarely in a good mood. You must choose your words very carefully if you want to avoid doing something terrible." Peter thanked the old man and ran home as fast as he could. He told his parents about the genie, and together they decided what they would wish for. First, his father would become rich. Then his mother would become famous. And finally, Peter would wish for the canary to return. They opened the box, and out popped a genie who was so angry that his eyes turned red. "You have disturbed my sleep for nothing," he roared. "I will grant you your wishes, but I will also make sure that you regret it." And with that, he waved his magic wand. Peter's wish was granted first, and he was so happy that he threw his arms around the genie. "Oh, thank you," he said. "You're very kind." But the genie only pushed him away angrily and vanished with a pop. Now his father was rich. Peter's mother was so happy that her wish had come true that she ran into the street and started telling everyone about it. Soon the entire village had gathered around her, listening to her every word. And before she knew it, she was famous throughout the land. Finally, it was time for Thomas to get his wish. He thought for a moment. All he had ever wanted was to live in a house with a thatched roof and 4 thick walls. But the genie waved his magic wand, and in an instant, Thomas had not just a house, but a huge castle made of stone. It had high towers and crenellations and looked like something out of a fairy tale. Peter and his mother were amazed by the castle, but secretly they both wished that they had been consulted before Thomas got his wish. Peter especially liked living in the small house with the thatched roof. His room was cozy, and he had played in the hayloft many times. The garden behind the house had been filled with flowers and vegetables, and he had even had a little pond where he had fished with his friends. Now everything was gone. Peter was so upset that he went to the window to watch the sunset. His mother joined him there and asked what was wrong. Peter told her about his lost friends and the pond and the flowers. His mother sighed and said that she understood how he felt. Her vegetable patch had been destroyed to make room for the castle, and although she liked living in a big house, she missed the small, cozy rooms. "What are we going to do?" Peter asked. "We need to ask the genie for help," his mother replied. "But remember what the old man said, genies are very tricky. We have to be careful." Peter agreed, and together they went back to the box. Out popped the genie, and they explained to him what had happened. "Oh yes," the genie said. "I remember. You asked me to make you rich, famous, and give you a house. And now you want me to change everything. How exhausting. But since you are such a nice family, I will grant you one more wish." Thomas and his wife looked at each other. This was a tough one. What did they want more? Money, fame, or a house? Well, the thing was, they had never really wanted any of those things. Fame and fortune had come to them without them even asking for it. And the castle, well, it wasn't really theirs. They had never worked hard or saved up for it. They hadn't earned it. "We don't want any of those things," Thomas's wife finally said. "We just want to go home." The genie waved his magic wand, and in a flash, they were back in their small cottage. Everything was just as they had left it. The garden was filled with ripe vegetables, and Peter could already hear the water lapping in his pond. He ran outside to see it and found that it was full of fish. His friends were there too, and they spent the whole afternoon playing and fishing. Later, when they sat down to dinner, Peter's father told them, "I may not have much money and I may not be famous, but I'm the happiest woodcutter in the whole world." And Peter and his mother agreed. They had learned that sometimes what you think you want isn't actually what makes you happy.